Hey nobodies, it's me here once again, here with my co-host Mr. Nobody. And today in this video, I'm going to be talking about my history here on YouTube, uh, especially how cringy my history here on YouTube has been. Because, as I've mentioned several times before, this is not my first channel by any means. I had a channel before this one that I ran for 15 years called Just Keep That in Mind. And, I was even cringier on that channel than I am on this channel, if you can believe that. But, yeah, between this channel and that channel, I've got almost 20 years of cringe here on YouTube. So, yeah, I'm going to be getting into my history here on this site and all the cringe. And I'm just going to go off the cuff. I'm not going to do any editing, no scripting. And what I'm definitely not going to do is I'm not going to hold this fake gun near my head and say, pretty fucked up, huh? I'm not going to do that. Nope. I'm just going to get into the meat in this video and talk about my long, cringy history here on YouTube. So if I'm going to talk about my history here on YouTube, I guess I got to start from the beginning. I got into YouTube around, it was 2007. I became a big fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd. He was like the first YouTuber I ever really got into. And I know that's not really a big surprise because, I mean, pretty much every fat autistic guy on YouTube in their 30s, the Angry Video Game Nerd was like the first YouTuber they ever got into. So my origins aren't exactly original. But yeah, AVGN, he was the first YouTuber I really got into. And over time, I kind of started discovering other smaller, more independent video game reviewers. Guys like Silent Rob and R-Make and Helsing 920. Now, my personal favorite was Emmer, Helsing 920. And I'm not kissing his ass just because he's dead. I mean, he genuinely was my favorite of those old school game reviewers. I kind of enjoyed his unique take on the whole angry reviewing thing. But I enjoyed the other guys, Silent Rob and, Wiz War and all those other guys. I was a big fan of all of them. But yeah, anyway, one day in the summer of 2007, I believe it was, Emmer, Helsing 920's account, got suspended. And I was wondering what in the hell was going on here. So I go on YouTube and I look up what happened to Helsing 920. And the first video I see is from Big Al. And, in this video that came up was him talking about what happened to Helsing's channel and basically, updating people on what was going on. And when I watched Big Al's video, I was like, I kind of like this Big Al guy. I don't know, something about his video kind of appealed to me. So I went on his channel, checked out some of his videos. I really liked Big Al's videos. He mostly just did like these rant type vlogs and stuff like that. Just sharing his opinion on, various different subjects. And I became a big fan of Big Al's. I binged all of his videos and, through Big Al, I discovered some other YouTube ranters, guys like Darkness the Curse and Random DCE and a lot of these other great old school YouTube ranters. And so, watching all these YouTubers, really inspired me to want to start doing YouTube myself. The gears in my head started turning and I decided, you know what? I'm going to be a ranter just like these guys. I'm going to do rant vlogs and it's going to be awesome. So I started my own YouTube channel. My very first YouTube channel, even before I was Just Keep That in Mind, I had a channel called DTH71388. And what blows my mind is that there are a couple people out there who actually still remember that channel. It blows my mind because not only did those videos suck ass, but I only had like 100 subs on that channel. But yeah, that's the channel I used my first few months as a YouTube rant vlogger. DTH71388. Sorry, I just drank a Red Bull. Anyway, I made like these rant vlogs that were not good at all. I came across as even more stiff and awkward than I did on my Just Keep That in Mind channel. My videos, they weren't interesting, they weren't good. I came across as really stiff and awkward, and what I would do is I would type everything I would say on Microsoft Word, and everything I said, I would just read it off of my computer screen, and you could tell because you could like see my eyes go back and forth. They just weren't good videos. I wasn't being myself. I wasn't displaying my sense of humor or anything. I was trying too hard to be like Big Al and some of the other ranters that I was a fan of, and it wasn't working out. And I only got like 100 subs on that channel. So what I decided to do was I wanted to start doing something different. I wanted to start, doing things more my way, and displaying more of my sense of humor. So I closed DTH 71388 and I started a new channel called Just Keep That in Mind. People called me JK Tim for short. I can't remember how I came up with the name Just Keep That in Mind, because it's been so long, but basically what I would do on this channel was I would do like rants about just really stupid random topics. And I mean really stupid random topics. Like I did a rant about traffic cones. I did a rant about bird shit. I did a rant about trees. What else? I did a rant about roadkill animals. And I also did a lot of rants about like random celebrities. Like I did a rant about Richard Simmons, Hulk Hogan, Billy Mays, that infomercial pitch man from back in the day. Just really stupid, silly, nonsensical rants about nothing, basically. And surprisingly, I was able to develop a little bit of an audience for myself through these videos, including some of you. I mean, a lot of you remember those videos back in the day and used to watch them. But, a lot of those videos, when I look back, did not age well, and they also kind of sucked, and I'm pretty embarrassed by a lot of them. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have fond memories of those videos, but me, it makes me cringe looking back. A lot of edgy early 2000s humor that did not age well at all. Like, probably the worst video I did was, and I can't believe I did this, I did a video rant about mentally retarded people. I know some of you remember that one. I'm not proud of that one at all. It was just a 19-year-old boy trying desperately to sound edgy and provocative. I just sounded like a douchebag. And I said like really horrible stuff like, we should gather up all mentally retarded people and force them to live in New Jersey. Just thinking back at that, it's like, wow, I can't believe that's something I actually did. I am not proud of that video. I'm ashamed of that video. Now, like I said, I know a lot of you guys might remember that video and laugh, but me, it just, I'm almost in my 40s, so I'm kind of at that age where I just cringe at my early 20s and my teenage years. So yeah, that video was horrible. I'm so sorry for that video. If anyone's offended by that, I'm sorry. I'm not proud of the fact that I did that. But yeah, that was one that I did. Fuck. Just thinking about it just makes me gosh. I need to take a shower. It'd be the first one I'd have in a while. Anyway, yeah, a lot of just really cringy early 2000s edgy humor that just did not age well. And I did a video rant about Richard Simmons, and one of the things I said in that video is that I hope he dies and goes to hell. And now that he is actually dead, I certainly do not hope that he's in hell. I hope he's up in heaven, getting the angels into good shape. Some of those videos are still up. I kind of wish they weren't, but some of them are still there. If you want to find them, I'm not going to tell you how to find those, because I would rather those not be seen. But some of them are there. I think another video I watched not too long ago, I said something like, I was joking about someone going to prison and getting assaulted by a big black guy named Percy, and it's just like, oh, why did I say these things? Again, I was a 19, 20-year-old boy who desperately wanted to be edgy, but looking back, I just came across as being a douchebag. And another really cringy thing that I did was I stole a joke from Mitch Hedberg. I'm not real proud of that one either. I did a rant about Lunchables and like TV dinners and stuff. And Mitch Hedberg, he used to do a joke because there was this commercial for Hungry Man TV dinners that ran in the early 2000s where, you know, there's two guys in a locker room and they're talking about what they had for dinner last night. One guy says he had like a fish sandwich, and the other guy says, "Oh, I had a Hungry Man TV dinner with, you know, barbecue with beer battered chicken fingers and cheese fries." And then he turns his hair dryer and it blows the guy who had the fish sandwich away. And Mitch Hedberg says, "Oh, I guess they're saying that you're only a real man if you have appetizers." Now, it was actually funny when he told the joke. When I told the joke just now, not only was it terrible, it was about as funny as going to a family member's funeral. But when Mitch Hedberg told the joke, it was actually funny. But not when I did it. But and my delivery was even worse in that video that I made back in the day. So I posted that video, and I had some people in my comment section kind of crapping on me, being all like, "Oh, you ripped a joke from Mitch Hedberg, you douchebag." Because the thing that made it worse was that Mitch Hedberg had only been dead for like a year or two. So it's like I ripped off a joke from a recently deceased person. So yeah, that added a little extra layer of tastelessness. So I'm not real proud of that either. Yeah, another really cringy thing I did back in those days was YouTube used to have a feature where you could like add friends. I can't remember exactly how it went, but a lot of YouTubers kind of exploited that feature and would spam random people on YouTube with friend requests so that they could, you know, have people look at their channel and subscribe. And that's something I did, unfortunately. I spammed a bunch of random people with friend requests on YouTube so that I could grow my subscriber base a little bit. I didn't do it too much, though, because eventually people started getting pissed off at me and started noticing what I was doing. And I get some angry messages from people being like, quit spamming me with friend requests. And, you know, I just felt really stupid. And for years afterwards, I would get, like, questions from people being like, "Dude, why'd you send me a friend request years ago?" And it would just make me feel all cringy and stupid. So yeah, a lot of cringe involved with my old channel. It's not something I'm too proud of, but you know, that's what I did back then. And surprisingly, I was able to develop an audience for myself through that channel. A lot of the YouTubers that inspired me and that I watched and I was a fan of were, you know, noticing my channel, watching my videos, commenting on my videos. Guys like, you know, Big Al, Helsing 920, Random DCE, Darkness the Curse. You know, they were all watching my videos and subscribing to my videos. And eventually it got to a point where they would invite me into Skype calls. So I would go into these Skype calls that were usually hosted by Random DCE. Random DCE, he was a British guy. He was kind of like the quote-unquote leader of that group, I guess. Or at the very least, he was the guy who used to run all the Skype calls. And I would go into these big, huge Skype calls with like 20 different people. And they were mostly all YouTubers. And I became friends with all these people, and I became part of this big, huge online friend circle of YouTubers. We were all YouTubers. We would like, you know, collab with each other in videos and do stuff together. And it was great for me because, like, for the first time in my life, I had like an actual friend circle of my own. And it was just really cool. And I have a lot of fond memories of that time. But that being said, we there were some people out there who didn't like my friend circle that much. They thought that we were a circle jerk. They thought that we were like an online high school clique, which these people weren't wrong. I mean, looking back, yeah, it was a bit of a circle jerk and it was a bit of a clique, but we were all too socially inept to realize it at the time. But now that most of us are older, we kind of look back and are like, yeah, it was like that. So we had our share of haters and people who didn't like us very much. And you know, for the most part, I have nothing but fond memories of most of those people, good times. But there was a lot of drama that went on in that friend circle. There was a lot of gossip, and unfortunately at the time I had a habit of being a bit of a gossip back then. So there was a lot of drama and rumor milling, and a lot of that drama spilled out online. There was a lot of internet drama in that group, lots of it could be a little bit soap opera-y at times, and those of you who were around back then, you remember. Now, I didn't get as involved with the drama as some of my friends, but I did get involved, and it's not something I'm proud of. And another thing that I was involved with that I'm not super proud of was a bunch of us started this YouTube channel together. It was called Jet Droid Monkey, and the premise of this channel was it was kind of like Retsupre, if you remember that channel. It was just a bunch of us doing a commentary on this one guy here on YouTube. I don't know if he's around anymore, but his name was Metroid Junkie. And he was a guy who was kind of part of that old friend circle of mine. And Metroid Junkie, he had some not so pleasant interactions with some of us. And he was a nice guy, but he was just really cringe and awkward. And he made some kind of cringy videos back in the day. And basically, when that channel first started out, it was basically us just commenting on his videos and just kind of tearing him a new asshole. And it was kind of mean-spirited in hindsight because, you know, Metroid Junkie, he was a nice guy, but he was just awkward. And I looking back, I feel like we were kind of a little bit too hard on him. But you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you were young and stupid back then, and now that you're older, you look back and you cringe. Now, eventually we did commentary on like other videos and whatnot, but that's how that started out. We were all kind of like goofing on this poor cringy kid who didn't really know any better. I mean, especially since we weren't that much less cringy than he was. Some of us may have even been more cringy looking back. But yeah, that was my first experience having like an actual friend circle of my own. Some of those people I'm still good friends with. Some of them I haven't spoken to in years. Some of them I'm on horrible terms with and have had pretty bad fallings out. And I'll get to that later in the video. But anyway, in 2009, a bunch of us from that big YouTube friend circle went on this big trip to New York City together. And for the most part, it was paid entirely by this guy from that friend circle, a guy named Niall. He wasn't really a YouTuber, but he was friends with a lot of us, and he got this big inheritance from his father, and he put together this big trip to New York City for us, flew a bunch of us over to New York. You know, he rented out a bunch of hotel rooms at this really nice hotel, the Barclay, and a bunch of us went over and spent a couple weeks in New York City. It was a 2-week-long trip. I was only there the first week, but man, that trip was probably the most fun I ever had in my life. It changed my life. That trip really changed my life. I consider that trip the best experience I ever had. You know, it was the first time I had ever flown, the first time I ever been to New York. It was the first vacation I ever went on without my parents. It was my first time going out of the state of Illinois without my parents. It was just a lot of firsts. It was the first time I ever just went out and like went on vacation with friends of my own. And it was just a really special time. And I had so much fun. Now, that being said, there was a lot of drama involved with this trip. Like I said, it was a 2 week long trip, and most of the drama didn't happen until the second week. I left after the first week. I wasn't there for all the big shit show drama that went down, so I'm not going to commentate on that. But I mean, there was just drama in general. You know, it's kind of different when you meet in person versus when you're on Skype. And there were some personality clashes, people kind of finding out they don't like each other in person. Um, I mean, I got along with pretty much everybody on that trip, but there was a lot of that went down. And we stayed at this really nice hotel, the Barclay Intercontinental. So you had all these like rich people in dresses and suits and lots of like business people there. And then you had all like these fat nerds who just kind of stuck out like a bunch of sore thumbs. It was great. And there were some boyfriends and girlfriends meeting up for the first time. There were virginities lost on that trip. Certainly not mine, but that was going on. It was just a really wild and fun and interesting thing to be a part of. I had a blast, and you know, like I said, I know there was some drama that went down, but for me, that I consider that the most fun I ever had in my life. Yeah, just really good times, really good times. So that trip happened, and after that trip, you know, that friend circle I was part of kind of started very slowly sort of falling apart. That's kind of like the peak of that friend circle I was part of, and it just kind of slowly you know, unraveled over the next several years to the point where basically right now it doesn't even exist. But yeah, a couple years after that trip, I had kind of gotten burnt out on YouTube. I was pretty much completely half-assing my YouTube channel. And around the same time, my buddy Darkness the Curse was also getting sick of YouTube and was kind of half-assing his channel. So what we did was we started a channel together, and we ran a channel together for a couple years. And because I guess we just figured that, you know, if he half-asses and I half-asses, which, sorry, I thought I heard something, but I guess we both figured if we both half-assed, and that would equal a whole ass, and that would make a quality channel. So we did that for a couple years. And then eventually Darkness decided he wanted to just do his own thing. And so I went back to doing my own thing for a bit. But then after that, I just kind of got sick of YouTube. And I kind of stayed away from YouTube for about 4 years. I went on a bit of a hiatus. Now, I mean, I would go on like my friends' streams and stuff, and I would post something on very rare occasions. But for the most part, I just stayed away from YouTube, didn't really do anything with it. But then in 2016, I started missing YouTube, and I kind of missed, you know, being part of the YouTube community. So I started making YouTube videos on a regular basis again. And I mean, it was pretty fun at first, but you know, a lot of the videos I was posting, they weren't very good at all. They were just, you know, very phoned in. And you know, this was back when I was still drinking a lot, so I made a lot of really stupid drunk videos. Like I had a series called Expiration Anxiety, where I would, you know, try to eat expired foods, and usually it would end up with me puking on camera. And then I did these really unfunny parodies of the Angry Video Game Nerd that were pretty cringy. Rant type vlogs that weren't funny, just a lot of not funny, phoned in, a lot of it completely drunken crap, but I had fun with it. I think I was trying to relive those old YouTube days, but I mean, YouTube had just changed so much, you know, especially over that 4-year period I was gone. You know, I was just kind of out of my element, I guess. But then in 2017, about a little over a year after I came back to YouTube, I kind of started falling out of love with YouTube. one of my old buddies from YouTube, Helsing 920, Emmer, who I mentioned before, he passed away. And not too long after that, me and my buddy A. Salieri got into this really embarrassing YouTube drama war against Silent Rob and Drunken Punk. It was just completely ridiculous. I don't even remember what we were like fighting over, but for like a month straight, we would make these streams and videos where we would just shit all over each other. And I was drunk throughout the whole drama. So like me and Asa would make a stream where, you know, we would shit on Silent Rob and Drunken Punk. And I would be all belligerent, drunk off my ass, yelling at the top of my lungs and just being a complete doofus. So we would do a stream, and then Punk and Rob would do a stream shitting on me and Asa, and then me and Asa would do a stream in return shitting on Rob and Punk, and this just went on for about a month. Just me and Asa shitting on Punk and Rob and vice versa. That's another embarrassing moment of my YouTube career that if you look around, you could find some of those videos. Again, I'm not going to tell you where to find them, but they're there. And yeah, not a very proud period of my time on YouTube. Very embarrassing. I mean, that whole YouTube drama was just ridiculous. I mean, I went on camera and called the cops on Drunken Punk. That's how crazy that drama got, and just very shameful and embarrassing. And I'm sorry to any of you who was around back then and saw it, because that was just nuts. So yeah, after that whole ordeal and after Emmer dying, I just kind of started getting bored with YouTube a little bit. And I started, posting less and less. And then it got to the point where, like, the last few years I had that channel up, I only posted, like, 2 or 3 videos in the last 3 years I had that channel up, just because, I had just gotten sick of YouTube. I'd fallen out of love with it. I wasn't enjoying being on YouTube anymore. My videos were getting more and more phoned in and not entertaining, and I don't know. I just got sick of it, I guess. And then in 2022, a YouTuber who I used to watch way back in the old days, like 2007 or so, came back to YouTube. And that YouTuber was a guy named Renetto. Now, you might remember me talking about Renetto this past summer. I made a video about him. But basically, if you don't know who Renetto is, Renetto was the first celebrity YouTube vlogger ever. He's widely credited for inventing the family vlog, for better or for worse. Probably more for worse, but normally I don't watch those kinds of videos, but Renetto had kind of a kooky, eccentric personality that I always found really appealing. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but I also got a kooky, eccentric personality. And Renetto, just like a lot of those old school OG YouTube celebrities, he kind of lost his relevance after about 2010 or so. And ever since around 2010, 2011, he basically, was only on YouTube in short bursts. He would go very long periods of time, years at a time, without posting anything. But back in 2022, he came back and, he started making videos on a regular basis again. And it was just really cool for me to see, this old school classic YouTuber from my younger days come back and just, be enthusiastic about YouTube again. Because I think that's what YouTube needs, is a good dose of that old school flavor. And Renetto, to me, really represents what old school YouTube was all about. And it was great seeing him back on YouTube. He was excited to be back. And he was just really enthusiastic. He had all these, video ideas. And, he said he was going to do a podcast and, all these great things that he had planned for his channel. And it was just really cool. But then after a while, I could tell that he was starting to lose his enthusiasm for YouTube, and he started posting less and less. And in one of the videos he posted, he said something that really kind of hit me. He said, being on YouTube today is like being at a family reunion without your family. And when he said that hit me right in the feels, man. I knew exactly what he was talking about. Because for me, it was like being at a family reunion without my family. Because when I think about my time here on YouTube, the whole community aspect and all the friends I made and the collaborations I participated in, and it's just that era is just gone. Most of my friends don't really do YouTube anymore. A couple of them died. Prince of Moose had just died. Helsing 920 had died years ago. I had a really bad falling out with my best friend Darkness the Curse. Guys like Random DCE hadn't made videos in years, and I don't know. It just felt very, very sad and empty being on YouTube. And when Renetto compared it to being at a family reunion without your family, I mean, that was just such a perfect description, and just hearing him say that just really, it made me realize and think, maybe I need to just put my channel to rest and just move on from YouTube. I just figured I had my time on YouTube. It was fun, but maybe it was just time to put this baby to rest. So I thought about it for a few days, and I just decided to close my channel. And that's what I did. I closed my YouTube channel, and I regretted it at first, but it was just like, it was time. I had my time. It was fun. But what happened around this time was I started finding other vloggers on YouTube, and I don't know how I found these people, but I started finding YouTube vlogging channels from guys like me, awkward, nerdy, autistic guys who have a hard time socializing and never had girlfriends before, and I started really relating to some of these vlogging channels that I was discovering. But the one vlogging channel that really, resonated with me on a deep level was a channel that I mentioned before, Ghost of Adam. Ghost of Adam's a guy, in his 30s, eccentric loner like me, never had a girlfriend at the time. I think he's with some girl now. But the way he would talk about, these things just in a way that was humorous and engaging, it really spoke to me. It really inspired me to want to come back to YouTube. And for a while, I kind of hesitated. I was like, no, I had my time on YouTube. It's time to just put those days away and just move on. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Adam really turned the machinery on in my head. And, after months of just kind of going back and forth, I started this channel. And the cliche, the rest is history. This channel, when I started, it had a very slow start. The first year and a half or so, I only got I didn't even have 200 subscribers. But then in January of last year, I posted a video that changed the trajectory of this channel big time. The video called "I'm 35 years old and never had a girlfriend before." And that video blew up, and really big YouTubers like Think Before You Sleep and Legion of Men and Xander Hall started doing commentaries on it. And it blew up even more. And then suddenly a bunch of people who used to watch me back in the day, and a lot of my friends started discovering this channel. And I got my old fan base back in addition to the new fan base that I built up for myself. And I gotta say, when I first started this channel, I did not want this channel to have anything to do with what I used to do before. I didn't want to have anything to do with just keep that in mind again. In a lot of ways, I think, when I started this channel, I was kind of, wanting to run away from my past. But, now that a lot of you old school people from back then have discovered this channel and you've been really positive and nice, I'm kind of learning to embrace the past again and, really appreciate those old J.K. Tim days. Because, you know, as much as those days make me cringe, I mean, that was a pretty important time in my life. And I know a lot of those videos, as embarrassed I am of them, I know some of you got a lot of enjoyment from them. So, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I'm a lot different now than I was back then. I'm in a very different place. You know, a lot of ways my sense of humor has changed, and I've had some people want me to go back and do things more the way I used to on that old channel, and you know, I'm not there mentally. I need to do something different. I appreciate those old days. I had a lot of fun, a lot of good times, but I just need to do something different from JK Tim. So I'm really enjoying, you know, doing this channel, and I'm glad that a lot of you are enjoying it, whether you've watched me for almost 20 years or just the last year or two. I'm really appreciative of everybody who's been supporting me over the last couple of years. So I'm about at the end of this video. So I'm gonna, since I'm on the topic of my old YouTube cringe, I'm gonna address a person who I am probably the most associated with here on YouTube, because I've been getting a lot of questions about him over the last several years. I'm going to talk about my old buddy, Darkness the Curse. Since I'm on the subject and people keep asking me, I'm just going to address him and then hopefully never have to talk about this guy ever again. But if you don't know who Darkness the Curse is, Darkness the Curse, he was my best friend. Well, he was just my best friend in general. He was the guy who I ran a channel with for a couple years. A lot of people have fond memories of me and him doing shit together here on YouTube, because I think, you know, him and I, we kind of adhered to the classic trope of, you know, the comedy duo where one guy is sort of like the goofy, silly, funny guy. In this case, it was me. And the other guy's just kind of like the wisecracking straight man, and that would being him. I mean, I was kind of like the Chris Farley to his David Spade. I was kind of like the Kel to his Keenan. Or if you watch Mythbusters, I was kind of like the Adam to his Jamie. And, you know, like I said, him and I had been best friends for years. But we also used to get on each other's nerves a lot. We used to get into some pretty heated arguments, and we would swear that we would never speak to each other again. And then like 2 weeks later, we'd go back to being best buds. The last year or so, around 2013, we started like butting heads a lot. I don't want to get too into his personal life, but 2013 was a pretty crazy year for Darkness. You know, he had a kid, and then he lost his job, and then his girlfriend broke up with him, and you know, he just he went through a lot in 2013, and he wasn't handling it very well. And like I said, we did used to butt heads a lot during that time, and but I just always chalked it up to, well, you know, he's going through some crap. But then at the end of 2013, you know, he wanted me to buy him an Xbox One for Christmas. I knew he asked me. I didn't like offer to do it. He asked me if I would do it. And, you know, I wanted to give him something he could be happy about, because, you know, he was pretty miserable and not in a good place. So I wanted to give him something that maybe could cheer him up just a little bit. So around Christmas of 2013, I bought him an Xbox One. And for about 2 or 3 months, I was the best friend ever. He made some videos on YouTube about me, about what a great guy I am and what an awesome friend I am. And then about 2 or 3 months after he got the Xbox, he ghosted me. And before the term ghosting existed, he ghosted the shit out of me. And then I found out he was saying some pretty horrible things about me that weren't true. Amongst the things he was saying about me was that he was saying that I was a stalker. He said that I was a sociopath or a psychopath, which, you know, basically accusing me of horrible things that not only aren't true, but are much more applicable to him than me. Just absolute assassin. And this just happened completely out of nowhere. And then, like, as soon as as soon as he ghosted me, he all of a sudden had this whole new group of friends. Basically, he started associating himself and hanging out with a lot of very sycophantic people. I won't mention names, but if you're a fan of his and you watch his streams, you could probably guess exactly who I'm referring to. And then he started simping for this thought over in New England who cuts hair, who only talks to him because he has clout online. But, basically, he started surrounding himself with almost nothing but yes men and yes women. Basically, the people he started associating with were fans of his back in the day, back when, he was still, like a really big time gamer, ranter, the Sonic guy, back then when he was still a big deal doing that kind of stuff. And these people who he's been surrounding himself with put him on a pedestal and kiss his ass because they still see him as being like this big time YouTuber from their childhoods. So, I mean, that's what he wants, basically. He wants to have his ass kissed. And he knows I'm not going to kiss it, so now he's got people in his life who do. Now, as I said, we did butt heads a lot. We got into a lot of arguments. But I honestly think the main reason why he cut ties with me is because I think Darkness is just a miserable person. And I think he just wants somebody in his life who he could cast as like the boogeyman, who he could just kind of cast all of his problems onto and just kind of point at and be like, oh, he's evil, and that bothered me at first, but it's like, whatever. If he wants me to be the boogeyman in his life, I'll be the boogeyman. So hopefully that makes him happy. Like, whatever. So yeah, Darkness and I, we have not spoken to each other since 2016. Well, actually, I take that back. We had a very brief interaction in 2020. It was right before the pandemic. We exchanged a couple messages. There was an issue involving a mutual friend of ours. But besides that little interaction we had, last time I had a real conversation with him was, it was really late in 2016. It was shortly after Trump won the election. It was in a Skype call. Actually, Emmer was in the Skype call. It was about several months before Emmer died. And if I have to guess, I'll probably be on speaking terms with Emmer again before I'm on speaking terms with Darkness again. And honestly, I mean, I think that's probably for the best at this point. Like I said, there's just too much bad blood between us. And if I ever started talking to him again, I just feel like it'd be awkward and uncomfortable just because it's been so much time and I'm a lot different now than I was back then, and I'm sure in a lot of ways he is as well. So, I mean, obviously, things aren't good between us, but that being said, I do hope the guy's doing okay. I don't wish any ill will on him. Like I said, there was some videos exchanged, and there was a bit of public drama that I'm not proud of, but like I said, it's been several years, and, I'm not angry about the situation anymore, and I hope he's doing okay. I know he beat testicular cancer, which is good. I would definitely not wish something like that on anyone. So I'm health-wise, I hope he's doing okay. And I've had some people ask me about this, but he's got this YouTube history channel that's doing really well. I guess he's got over 100,000 subscribers. And, I mean, you know what? Good for him. Like I said, if there's one thing I can give Darkness credit for is that he has genuinely worked his ass off on YouTube. And he has genuinely worked his ass off to make a name for himself again. And, if he's doing well with this YouTube channel, the history channel or whatever, good for him. So yeah, we're not buds. We haven't spoken in years, but I mean, I wouldn't say we're enemies either, or at least I don't consider him my enemy. I'm sure, I mean, I don't know, maybe he's still, blaming me for every bad thing that happens to him in his life, because I know he was doing that for a while, but I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, the beef is over, so I hope he's doing okay. Can't really think if there's any other, like, YouTubers who I've had bad fallings out with that I need to address. I mean, I guess maybe like Drunken Punk. I haven't spoken to Drunken Punk in years. I do not miss Punk. I have no desire to speak to her. Yeah, if you didn't know, Drunken Punk is now a transgender woman. So apologies to the transgender community that you've got that piece of crap in your community. I will apologize for that. Silent Rob, I mean, I've said pretty much all I could think about Silent Rob. I mean, the dude's life's a mess, and, him making fun of Ace's kid is pretty despicable. I mean, you really have to be just an evil person deep down to want to make fun of someone's kid. I mean, as angry as I've gotten at it, Darkness the Curse, and I went overboard a few times with Juice and my vitriol and the anger I had at him, but I never in a million years would ever think about making fun of his kid. I mean, I couldn't do that. That's just wrong, and the fact that Rob went there is just probably the most despicable thing I've seen on YouTube. Yeah, so hopefully the guy gets help and puts his life back together. I doubt that he will, though. Whatever. I think a lot of people still want him to come back to YouTube and make videos again and go back to being like the good old days. And some of you people really need to get over your nostalgia for this guy, because I mean, if you want him to come back to YouTube and do what he was doing, then I don't know. It just blows my mind that there are people out there who are still willing to support him. I mean, it's like things like that make me understand why autistic people, us autistic folks, get such a bad rap at times. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got to say as far as my long and cringy YouTube history goes. I don't know if this video is going to be entertaining or not. I've rambled on for over 45 minutes. But, yeah, I've had a nice long run here on YouTube. And I appreciate the support I've been getting. And some of you have been watching me for almost 20 years. Some of you watched me back in those old Just Keep That in Mind days. But no matter how long you've watched me, I appreciate you all. You're all great. And that's pretty much all I got to say in this video. I'll see all you nobodies later. Keep it cringy, everyone.